teaching. It's amazing how much your parents and your teachers, how much they influence and shape you. And I mean, I think I get my work ethic from my mum, who is a hard worker and would have had her own business over the years as well. The thing I love best about my job is supporting young people. I love their energy. I love their enthusiasm to deliver specialist film academies that will train young people how to produce a short film. So they go through every aspect of production in that writing. Film for me is escapism, it's inspiration, but I also associate it with memories and people that I've shared that watching experience with. So it's things like that when you can use the medium really creatively to challenge you, to make you feel things that you're not expecting to feel.
Hi everyone, welcome to episode 3 of Sharing Stories. I'm joined today by Eavan King. Eavan is the program manager at Nerve Centre and the competition and industry manager at Foyle Film Festival. So you're very welcome, Eavan. Thank you for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me along. It's great to be here.
Great. So hopefully today we'll have some discussion around the film festival, your role at the Nerve Centre. But the thing I'm really interested in when I'm chatting to people that's working in the film industry, media industry, is how you got the role. So what did you do beforehand? What's the kind of key skills you developed to get the kind of role that you're on now today?
Yeah, I suppose I kind of came into the work that I'm doing the long way around as well. I'm from Donegal, and growing up in Donegal, I would have done an awful lot of drama, singing, music performance, things like that. And I was sure I was going to be an actor. Like I would have bet money that I would have been an actor, and I had it all mapped out of what I was going to do. And by the time it came to me making my choices, going to college, university, I had done a lot of different things. I had performed music for a long time. I had sung, I had acted, I had toured with a cabaret touring group. So I had a lot of stage experience. I had done some really good work in public speaking and things like that. I'd done some radio, but I was always really interested in storytelling. And I wanted to try something different. I was ready to maybe go behind the camera and look at how stories were created and made and things like that. So I just did an about curve and decided to go up to Coleraine to Ulster University, where I did a degree in media and theatre studies, much to my mother's disappointment, because Sterling Exchange, I'll tell you, in 1997, Kevin, wasn't good. So, but it is a move that I never ever regretted. I met some of the best friends I have up there. I had some great teachers up there as part of that undergraduate degree. After I finished in Coleraine, I ended up doing a master's in film production down in Dublin in DIT, and spent a year there. And that's really probably where I got started in film production. It would have been we would have had to have written a thesis on film theory, which we'd done quite a bit of in Coleraine because they love film theory. There at that stage, they did anyway. And it was before the days of digital technology. So you were editing on a machine and cutting up tape and joining, back in the dinosaur days, you're looking stunned. Like, you're like, how is that even a thing anymore? It isn't. But that's the kind of filmmaking we were doing. So it would have been six of us around a camera or 10 of us in a sound studio watching somebody else do it. So I got into producing when I was down there in Dublin. We produced 10, 11 short films. It was a pilot MA at the time. And we were lucky that the tutors we had there had worked on a short film called 35 Aside. So the creative team behind 35 Aside was director Damien O'Donnell, Patrick Conroy. So they had their whole cinematographer sound department there as well. And they were our teachers in that MA, which was really good in some ways and really challenging in other ways. But the experience of having to produce short film, having to manage budget, manage people, I loved that side of it. It really appealed to me. I couldn't believe that you could get paid to make stories and how seriously people took this business, setting up a set, cameras, weather had to be thought of, all of that. And that amazed me at that naively young age of 21, 22, going, what? You get paid to make stories? This is awesome. So that's what I did. And promptly then went off and traveled for a little while after that, got out of Dublin, traveled a little bit around and came back then. I always wanted to come back up northwest, came back to Donegal. And when I went to Donegal, there was a few of us around that time that were trying to start a film collective because there was a few of us that were graphic designers. I loved producing. I'd done a little bit of radio. before as well. Could do kind of basic fundraising things as well. So we were trying to start up a film collective there and trying to get some funding together. And I remember going into a civic office in the county and asking for support as to how we might set up a business doing this. And they were like, "What? You want to start a production here? Don't know. I mean, we can send you on a FOSS scheme, or we can." And very, very quickly, when you're young and you've a lot of hurdles put up in your way, you can go off the idea very quickly.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough, I had people there that were working in community arts in Donegal. So these are the years like the early 2000s where it was Peace 2 monies, a lot of that kind of post conflict, a
Mhm.
lot of creative arts, a lot of community arts, and things like that. So I spent the next couple of years doing drama facilitation, community arts. And from one of those events, I met a guy called Brendan Patterson who was working with Youth Action in Northern Ireland as a drama facilitator in Derry. And he said, "Look, I'm leaving my job soon, but might be interested in applying." And I did apply for it, and I ended up getting a job in Derry, and that's 20 years ago nearly now.
You're still here.
And I'm still there.
Hmm.
From Youth Action, I went to the Playhouse, and at the Playhouse, I had a whole different career, and a lot of different things opened up. I managed international youth arts programs, conferences in peace building and arts practitioner. I ran a comedy festival for 4 years called The Big Tickle, which was my little baby at the time. And then from there, went to the Gas Yard, worked in community arts there, carnival arts. And then a break kind of in my life came when my mother got ill. And I had to take some time off work to look after her after a very serious illness. And out of the blue, one day I got a call from Pearson, the nerve centre, and he says, "I have in my head that you might do a little bit of production management or a bit of a production assist." And I was sitting down in a hospital room in Dublin with my mum, who was thankfully recovering, making a slow recovery. And he says, "Do you want to come up and do a short film? I need a production assistant on it." And I was like, "Yes, yes, I do." And came up, and it was the City of Culture bid film that I worked on. So I did a little bit of the casting and the production management for that. And it was one of those weeks in Derry, where the sun shines and everywhere looks absolutely fantastic. And that was the week we shot the film. And that's where I met a few of the crew from the Nerve Centre. Pierce I'd known from the Nerve from before. And from there, I started getting asked back to do little jobs. And then from there, a small part time job opened up on the festival, looking after the competitions. Then there was the job grew over time to include film education, and now it's grown to include academies and industry and film production. So I went the long way around, but I was very, very lucky in the people that I've met along the way and the fact that I do think up here is a very, very rich, creative kind of hotbed of talent. And there's a great mentality of doing it yourself, and
Hmm.
it's grassroots and it's start from the ground up. And if you don't know something, you figure out how to do it, or you find someone that knows how to do it. So I was very lucky with the people that I met along the way and fortunate that when the opportunities came up, I grabbed them as best I could, or just kept emailing people and annoying people, going, "Do you remember that job you mentioned?" But
Yeah,
you've got to have a bit of that tenacity as well. So
you have
long
to.
way around. But I'm in the nerve centre now, 13 years, and I've been very lucky with the work that I've had and the work that I've been able to develop there.
Yeah.
That was
It,
a short answer,
that
wasn't
was
it?
that was a great answer. It's one of them ones where when you start going through the things, I'm thinking, what's the next question? And I have the next question, and
Okay.
then it's something else.
I know. You like
But
chuck those questions out the
no,
window.
but it's really good. It goes to show you like the just what you're talking about, your kind of tenacity and
Yeah.
um a lot of what you're saying there, you've reskilled and you've went and done different things in different areas, and I think that's very important for
Yeah.
people in media and
Hmm.
film and stuff because sometimes there's not enough of one thing,
Yeah.
and it's quite, I think, inspirational for young people because now there's so much opportunity. So you
Hmm.
created a role for yourself when the opportunities weren't there, the
Yeah.
council weren't aware,
Yeah.
but you have all these different opportunities now that young people can avail of, which is great. And it's funny when you said about I'm shocked that you cut in the stick and tape. I have the exact same thing with students where I talk about logging tapes and
Yeah,
using firewires and stuff, and it blows their mind that they
yeah,
go, you know, you just have to plug on a SD card now and take
yeah.
everything off,
It's
and it's
insane,
so
isn't it?
easy.
I
They have
know.
no idea.
They have no idea the work we put in over the years,
Yeah,
Kevin, that we had
yeah,
to learn as well. But
definitely,
yeah.
definitely. So that was a fantastic introduction to your job. But what's the bits now? What's the best bits, the worst bits of your job? What do you really like doing? And
Okay, so I suppose day to day in the Nerve Centre, I would look after training programs in film production and in film programming and film education for young people aged between 16 and 25. And you'll know some of this having, we've come across each other in work before, the BFI Film Academy. So we would have funding from the British Film Institute to deliver specialist film academies that will train young people. How to produce a short film. So they go through every aspect of production in that, writing, directing. They have a series of master classes. They shoot the film. They learn how to work with other young people, and they showcase the film. We also have a project called BFI Film Academy Plus, originally enough, which is supporting those young people once they get past the age of 19. So perhaps, like, I've been very lucky that some of the students we've had in BFI Film Academy have come from Northwest Regional College, or they've gone on to Northwest Regional College because they understand the value of very practical learning, very technically kind of focused practical skills development that I think further education colleges do very, very well.
yeah,
Some have gone on to do the degree in McGee as well. So there's a very clear kind of a progression pathway there. And then I'd also look after things like organizing training events and masterclasses and workshops for, yes, young people, but also for the wider local screen industries here. Very tiny community of filmmakers and practitioners, but more than you think. And I would also look after the competitions. We have a short film competition at Foyle Film Festival, which is Oscar and BAFTA affiliated. So the Nerve Centre itself, as a creative learning centre, was set up by young people, I suppose, very much in, 1990, 1991. The Foyle Film Festival was set up about 2 years, 3 years before that in 1987. And that grassroots approach has really informed everything, because Foyle was set up by Derry Film and Video Collective, which would have had people like Margot Harkin and Anne Crilly and people like that were young creatives themselves, were filmmakers themselves. So they wanted a platform to showcase their own film. They also wanted to create opportunities that they could screen international film, independent film, films that you wouldn't have seen in the local cinema here. So that ethos that kind of filtered through into the Nerve Centre, which was set up by young people, really as a kind of a cultural alternative, because I think young people at the time didn't feel they were visible or they were part of the cultural mainstream, whatever that would have been in 1990 in Northern
mhm,
Ireland. So young people that maybe felt disenfranchised and wanted an alternative place to maybe practice their band rehearsals, or an alternative place to, record what was a podcast in 1990, record a 12-track album,
yeah,
or a place where they could learn filmmaking and learn about the new technologies. And that ethos has fed the Nerve Centre and grown its program, exponentially over the years as well. Like, creativity is at the heart of everything there, technology as well, and the supports that technology can bring to developing your own work as a creative. So, day to day, we have a set amount of programs across the year, but no day is ever really the same in there. It's quite eclectic sometimes what you're doing. And
that's
like,
great.
there's days where you're doing an awful lot of admin and fundraising, and then there's days where you're doing absolutely ridiculous stuff, if it's interactive cinema, or if it's, what else? There's a lot of times where people have to dress up as astronauts for very serious events, as they had to do recently. There's been world record attempts over the years, things like that. So no 2 days are the same. Day to day, it is about that. But the thing I love best about my job is supporting young people. I love their energy. I love their enthusiasm. I'm sure you think the same in your other line of work as well.
Yeah,
I love learning, and I always did. Like, just enjoyed learning, and I love teaching. I love communicating with people as well. So that is the best element in seeing that work come together. Getting to meet some very talented artists and people, celebrating the art form, celebrating people and their stories on the screen. Very simply, that's my favorite bit of it. the worst bits of it are, I'd say, universal for a lot of us working in the creative arts and the education sector. It's time management and the pressure on our time, the pressure on our students, and I suppose really reacting sometimes to and this is my own opinion, quite a stagnant political climate where you can never really plan ahead. And sometimes you feel like you're constantly just reacting to lack of movement on funding or lack of forward planning on funding or reacting to the needs of the sector right now. In the screen industries as well, we're reacting to the nature of productions coming in, to the skills needs that they have there at the moment. So it can be very difficult to plan ahead and forge ahead. It can be difficult to get that time to evaluate and reflect and figure out what to do better the next time and what not to change if it's brilliant work, which we all do, as we know.
No, we've experienced I've experienced that where it's so fast paced. The reflection's a big part of it, but
Yeah,
as you say, you don't get enough time. You need time to kind of do that to work out what went well
absolutely.
and how
Yeah.
to make things better. You talked a lot about young people there, and opportunities and
Mhm.
enjoying working with them. Um, what's the landscape like for a young person now working in film? Like, what opportunities do you see? Like, um, part of the things we do, we get them to research
Mm.
job opportunities specific to
Yeah.
different roles that they see
Hmm.
themselves working on. And the research that comes back always takes me back a bit because there is so many opportunities, there's so
Yeah,
many places that they
absolutely.
can go and find work. Um, how do you think the kind of industry's changed now? Is it
Oh, massively. And I mean, from my time, yeah, absolutely. And even in the last 10 years, like we're running BFI Film Academy, we run it in three sites across Northern Ireland through the three creative learning centres. And even in that 10 years, the breadth of opportunities that have opened up for young people is huge. There's never been a better time to work in the screen industries, the amount of entry level jobs, the amount of very visible routes, the amount of organizations like ourselves that can really actively support and say, look, this is available to you. Here's information on a work placement scheme that you can access. The fact that even in Northern Ireland Screen now they're looking for, creative industry new entrance scheme. They have a cine scheme there. So this is creative roles for perhaps diverse, disadvantaged people, or people that have been overlooked, people that are completely new to the sector, that maybe are working in a different area of work altogether and never thought about the screen industry. But now there's a program here that will, promote some really good work placement programs, some access training for that as well. Like that's huge. I mean, even from 5 years ago, that's huge because I think over the years, sometimes it can be very hard when you're an education provider and you see an awful lot of young people think that they can't stay here to work and they want to and they can't because they think, well, the screen industry is only in Belfast, or if I want to do production management or production design, I have to go across to the UK to do that. And that's becoming less and less of an issue now because I think in Northern Ireland, in the north of Ireland, whatever you want to call it, people from diverse and different backgrounds, regional areas, regional colleges, regional places of production all have their value and should all have their visibility as well, because we shouldn't be making it too easy for young people to go away and work. We want
yeah,
talent and creativity and skill here in this city because I think it is one of the more creative places in Ireland. I think it's in us up here. I think there's such a breadth of success stories that you want that younger energy there. You want to be able to have a vibrant, colorful kind of a workforce in the
mhm,
city that knows what they're doing and have big ideas and big aspirations. That's absolutely what we should be doing. And I think hopefully over time that'll become even more and more a reality. It's beginning to already be very positive changes, that you can see.
yeah, most definitely. Even just the fact that one thing I've noticed is like that before people were very focused on, oh, I want to work on film, but there's now a fallback too with social media and digital
Hmm.
skills and marketing.
Hmm.
Not even a fallback, but other pathways that they
Absolutely.
can follow. And it's I really like the fact that the skills that they're learning in terms of editing, camera work,
Hmm.
as well as the being on a shoot, how to speak
Hmm.
to someone, how to
Absolutely.
collaborate,
Hmm.
as you say, creativity. So you obviously have a really interesting job, but what inspired you to get into this kind of work?
Oh goodness. Well, I mean, growing up, I grew up in a really small town in Donegal where if you weren't in the GAA, there were other things to do, perhaps like creative arts or music. I was lucky I was into music and performance. So I love doing things like that. I had good parents. I mean, I think I get my work ethic from my mum, who is a hard worker and would have had her own business over the years as well. And my father had a newspaper company, the Donegal Democrat. So I spent a lot of time slipping newspapers when I was younger and working in the Democrat. But um, getting to meet kind of interesting people and writers and journalists and being around people that, didn't think twice about, they sang as part of a group or they were in the choir or we were part of a drama group. And those kind of formative experiences were really good. In some ways, they make you very confident and they help your communication skills. In other ways, they can make you feel very insecure as well. I did the whole fesh circuit. Like I sound like a really hardened, bitter fesh graduate now at this stage. I'm
Mhm.
not. I mean, the feshes were great, but they were pressurized. So I had
Yeah.
to do the dairy fesh. That's why I spent a lot of time coming up to dairy when I was a kid. Not traumatized
Yeah.
at all. But things like that were good to do, but kind of a little bit pressury
Yeah.
as well. So I enjoyed elements of doing all that kind of thing. I had some really good teachers in school. I had a good mentor and teacher, a lady by the name of Maura Logue, who's an actor and a director from Donegal, who would have given me my first initial kind of teachings in drama and in performance and spoken word. I had another teacher, Breach Connors, who coached us as part of the public speaking team in my secondary school, and we did really good work there. The 1997 public speaking champion here,
Okay.
Kevin.
Excellent.
All Ireland, and it was really difficult because it's one of those things that if you ever had the heebie-jeebies about speaking in front of a group of people, you didn't after you did this kind of work, because she used to make you practice your public speaking speech or your debate speech, but she'd bring you around all the different classes in secondary school and see if you
Mhm.
fancied a boy in fifth year and you had to go and perform and do your debate in front of it. I'll tell you, that just knocked any kind of humility out of you very
Yeah.
quickly. But what it did do was give me good confidence as a speaker.
Mm.
And it's funny, like at the time, I didn't think, I was just mortified. I cannot believe this. But now there's so many times I go back to some of the teachings that she gave me around, being able to speak in a room, command a room, how to communicate your points effectively. So much of that teaching, it's amazing how much your parents and your teachers, how much they influence and shape you in so many little ways that thankfully, even as your life goes on, you can still be reminded of in the most lovely
Yeah.
way. So, although my mother is always constantly disappointed because she's like, the amount of miles I drove in Donegal to take you to music lessons, and then it just went off, did media in Coleraine. Sorry,
Uh,
mum.
so that's really interesting. Do you think that your experience with your teachers there is quite positive, and I think you always remember the good ones. You
Oh, and
always
a couple of bad ones too.
no,
We all
I
did.
know, we do, we all do, but
Yeah.
it's one thing. Like I always remember my media teacher as well.
Yeah.
Something I've spoke to my colleagues about and stuff, and you still think back, um, how they did things and the
Yeah.
performance in the classroom and all that kind of stuff, and it
Yeah.
was really good. But do you think that your mum and your teachers and how they've been with you has inspired you to be a teacher as well because of what you do in the
Yeah, I mean, yeah, my mum and dad definitely. But my mum used to say when I was, a teenager, "Do you know, Evan, you'd be a great teacher." And I'm like, ugh, no, mum. Like those that can't teach, I'm gonna work in the media or whatever I was going to do at
uh,
the time. But as with most things, she'd say she was right in the sense that I came to teaching very late in my career. I did a lot of this kind of work and actually love going in to see the students in your college, and have been invited to do things in the university and to do talks, and just love the energy of young people, love being able to talk to them and enthuse them. And, maybe sometimes I'm a bit more enthusiastic than them, but did my PGCE and loved it. And it actually really did elevate my work and what I thought about my work and how we delivered some of the work in BFI Film Academy. So all of that kind of stuff that I looked at around employability skills and making those industry connections. Um, my PGCE actually really helped me a lot for that as well. So I think good teachers and their methodologies will stay with you as well. Um, you hope, you can only hope for the students that you work with that going forward, they might remember something that you said to them, or they might not. And that's
Mm.
okay if they don't.
Yeah.
See if they think you were rubbish and they were like, I don't want to be like that. At least they know.
Yeah.
You know, you've done your job in some way to get them where they need to be. But I think I would hope that for them going forward, that they'll have had good advice. They'll have had people like you, like me, that are really love the work that we do. We're enthusiastic, and you just want to see people getting on and doing well, don't you?
No, most definitely.
Yeah.
So the film, like, it has changed loads. It's becoming a lot more diverse as well and
Hmm.
inclusive. One of the things I noticed in the BFI is there's like policies on inclusion and
Mm.
equality, and
Hmm.
um, is that something that you see as a real positive?
I think so. I think it's very positive. Anything that brings in and engages people that feel marginalized or that culture isn't for them is a positive thing. And it's arguably what our job in the Nerve Centre is to do. It's to, put on film programs, film festivals, put on film production programs, or screen academies as well. Like we've a range of screen academies in visual effects, animation, and games development as well, production design, because it's less and less only about film and now it's screen based stories. So stories on screen, and the job shortages and the skill shortages are very much in the games development, the animation, and the visual effects sectors as well. So that's where the job roles are going to be. You mentioned that about camera skills and employability skills as well, which is so important. We really emphasize that in our academies because it's brilliant to have those technical skills and creative skills. But if you asked a graduate coming out of university, do they feel that they have enough employability skills? Do they understand what that means? Now, there's a lot of work going on to make sure that they do. And that means that they know, as you say, how to work as part of a team. They know how to approach an industry professional. They know how to make a follow up call or send an email. They know what it means to have problem solving skills or to think creatively about getting out of a difficult situation. Um, you know, Sometimes we think in this sector that it's a lesser sector than other, but if you look at the range of skills a creative has to have working in the screen industries, they need to be able to manage their time. They need to be able to manage their budgets. They need to be able to talk to people. They have to self manage their workload. They have to show really good creative and technical skills, work under pressure, like all those really important, what do they call them, like 21st century employability skills. But absolutely, they have to do that. And the development of those is just as important as the development of the technical skills and the creative skills as well. You will find and you will know yourself, you'll have graduates, the ones that do very, very well, have initiative, understand what an opportunity is, and they know how to take it and how to follow up on it as well. They're the people that do well and progress more quickly. Um, you know,
All the industry talks that we go to, like, just for example on BFI,
yeah,
that was one of the things I loved about it when I was on working on it. I was
that's
watching,
right.
like Dave Dugan come in and do
Yeah,
a script class, or Louise Gallagher coming in
yeah.
and talking, or a sound specialist. You were getting all these specialist people coming in
Hmm.
and giving their experience, but the one common thing that I felt that was repeated to the young people was all about attitude and
Hmm.
turning up. And like, it's such a simple thing, but it's
Absolutely.
forgotten.
Yeah.
We don't care that you're shit hot at editing. That's
Hmm.
amazing.
Hmm.
And that's something that will benefit you throughout your life. That's
Yeah.
great. But if you don't know how to turn up, smile, be willing to learn, be
Hmm.
willing to go and do things that you maybe don't want to do,
Yeah.
you'll never get the opportunity to be that editor or that sound engineer. It's
Oh,
something that
absolutely.
it's the basics of how you treat people. And
Yeah, and I mean, Louise is a case in point of an example of a success story from Derry, like Louise Gallagher, Brona Gallagher. Yes, Brona Gallagher's sister, but Brona Gallagher would say Louise Gallagher, I am her sister now. Louise has been a producer in BBC for many, many years and went out into short film and feature film production. She's just completed production on the first series of Blue Lights with Declan Lawn and Adam Patterson. Those three people were part of our script development lab that we do through BFI, where we take 20 young people through a series of intensive training sessions. We develop short film scripts. They have to pitch for it, they have to prepare a pitch, they have to speak to an industry panel about how they see this film being made. And they're all those employability skills as well, those business of film skills, those marketing skills too. But Louise would say it's very much about that, be willing to do anything, be willing to turn up with good grace and a good attitude as well, follow up with your contacts as well. And Louise has done so much for film production in Northern Ireland and television now, but certainly she never forgets Derry. She was part of the Derry Girls season, the last season of the show as well. A lot of filming happened up here, and it was wonderful to see some of our graduates from BFI, some of your student graduates as well, working on that shoot. I think of Tom White, who was there in the AD department. Zoe was on it, a few other people as well. And that's great.
Mhm.
That's great that now we can see young people that come through these kind of courses, or programs like the ones that you offer in the tech as well, and they're confident enough and skilled enough to go, yeah, we're looking for a role, and that you have producers like Louise, and production companies that will give those opportunities to young people.
Yeah,
And people starting out, it's so important that they see themselves a few years ahead, that they see the success stories that are 5 years on, 10 years on, 15 years on, because you need tenacity and you need inspiration to stick it out, because it isn't easy from time to time. So I love seeing that happen for them. I love it when it's our bunch that are out there doing it as well. Of course I do. It's like, hopefully we taught them well. They better remember this, that, and the other. But no, it's great to see. So that openness and that accessibility and that pathway that I talked about, that's very, very good to see, and great opportunities for any young person to take on,
yeah. It's
you know.
it's one of the things too. The kind of community element of the industry is really good. Anytime you go to a film festival, a media
Mm,
festival, you see these people and they're happy to stand and talk,
absolutely.
and um, even things like your events there where they're coming in, they get a chance to meet them. That's the follow up. Oh, I met you at the nerve center. I met you at the tech or whatever, and
Yeah.
they're always very willing to give their time, and they stand and chat and
Absolutely. Two of the best things we did in the festival, just for me, from my perspective last year, was we did a lot of networking for local filmmakers. So we had a lot of local filmmakers that came and showcased their films. And I mean, just in the last week, Kevin, there's been three Northwest productions nominated for Royal Television Society Awards.
yeah,
Three Northwest productions. You had Derry Girls, you had The White Handkerchief, and you had the Shy Man Showman, the Brian Friels, and that's awesome. That's great, and we'd filmmakers that worked on that coming in with their other films, their short films or short documentaries that they worked on, talking about them getting that opportunity. Great for local audiences and busy events. And we had our young filmmakers showcase as well. So the first batch of filmmakers that we supported with seed funding through the BFI Film Academy Plus program, we were able to showcase their short films. We were able to chat to them about it afterwards, and that was brilliant. And I thought, right, okay, I'm sure the event will go well. I wasn't prepared for the level of young people that we saw coming in the doors, and they didn't have to be there on a Saturday. Can I just say, we didn't pay them to be there on a Saturday. We didn't say you have to go. It was friends, families. It was also local filmmakers and local creatives that were there at these showcase events. And it was really, really heartening to see that. So that idea of local stories, platforming local talent, I felt that really was a great thing to be able to do last year. We'll keep doing more of it as well, because the value of a festival, it's turning very digital. A film, the streaming, all of those developments, the value of a film festival. Sometimes people go, what is the value? I don't think anything beats sitting in a room with people, watching a short film, hearing from the filmmakers, and maybe getting an opportunity, as you say, to go up afterwards, ask your question, or there's something very valuable about that for a young filmmaker, but also for an audience member as well. It's great learning for them.
yeah. We had Sean Mullen and
Michael
Paul Barway,
Barway's,
Michael Barway, sorry.
yeah, so
Who's
their short film was in Hyphen, was in, and they did a great chat after it as well. And
yeah,
Sean and Michael are doing brilliant work
yeah.
these days. They've had some really good stories to tell. So
Yeah, but they speak so highly of the film festival circuit and stuff too,
yeah.
and the people that they've met, and I think they've done quite well. One on a few different bits and pieces at film festivals and stuff. So
Well, absolutely. And even the likes of Irish Goodbye as well, like that. did the film festival circuit as well. And you do the festival circuit, yes, there can be accreditation with festival, but if it's picked up and seen by the right people, there's a buzz created. And that can open up opportunities for screenings over in LA where you need to go for further consideration at Oscar and things like that. But it's still a very valuable and a very hopefully accessible way of getting your work out there, because I think sometimes you can forget as well that you're making a film. Who are you whose story are you telling,
Yep.
and who are you making the film for? So there's the person's story that you're telling, and there's the audience member that's going to watch that film at the end, which some people know very well, some people don't, I'm sure. But so festivals, I think, have still a very, very valuable role for all of that as well.
Most definitely. So
Yeah.
when you see films coming on, what you've mentioned storytelling, I think that's probably going to come up again. But what do you think makes a great film?
Ooh, good question. Um, before I came over here, I said to Peter, my husband, I was like, "What films do I actually like?" He's going to ask me that because my taste is very eclectic. If it's short film, a good story in a short film is something that grabs you straight away. It'll have a very interesting character or a scenario that will really engage you and bring you along as well. Strength of character and your character's journey is absolutely paramount. It was funny. Declan and Adam were in last year. The guys that did Blue Lights were in talking about how much time they spent on character development for their characters in Blue Lights. And I think if you've watched it, and even if you haven't, but the characterization and the way that people speak to each other is very realistic. It's the way that you and I would speak to each other in a room, not just for the purposes of this podcast, but it is the way normal people speak. But that gives a great authenticity to a character, and it gives you a connection because you recognize an element of yourself in that character. So I always think strong characterization is really important, something that engages you straight away as well. It's very hard to say that there's a lot of original short stories these days. There isn't, but if you can find a new way of telling that story with maybe technical or creative techniques that you haven't tried before, that's always interesting as well. So that makes a good story for me, something engaging, a little bit offbeat, a little bit left to the middle, and maybe a familiar theme executed in a different way.
Yeah.
I mean, is that specific enough, but yet
That's no,
really vague, isn't it?
it's really
But
good. Yeah.
yeah, I
Uh,
suppose that's the best I can say. And then, my own film stuff, like film is escapism for me and inspiration. And, I wouldn't be a film festival art house person. I shouldn't really say that, but film for me, like I love Ridley Scott and The Godfather, and
uh,
all the big cheesy classics, Humphrey Bogart, all those kind of films. I love stuff like Pride and Prejudice, the 2005, the Joe Wright film, just because I love the way it was filmed. So film for me is escapism, it's inspiration, but I also associate it with memories and people that I've shared that watching experience with. So for me, I have a very eclectic taste in film. I should have come in with a better collection of films, but you know,
no,
we
that
are where we are, Kevin. I am
no,
who I am.
no, that's I'm very similar. I like different films, different genres for different things.
Absolutely.
Like I can enjoy something like Interstellar, but then
Love
I
it.
can get lost on something like Love, Death, and Robots on Netflix, where there's a
Absolutely.
collection of shorts where,
Yeah.
for me, that was one of the first times I seen that in a
Hmm.
mainstream
Yeah.
platform, and just at the start it threw me off so much that I was
Mm.
going, "Oh, I want to know what's next." And I
Yeah.
suppose the that was a marker of good short stories that I was
Yeah.
looking for more at the end
Yeah.
of quite a lot of the episodes.
But
But
Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities as well, where all these just different eclectic stories, some work really well, some don't. But yeah, it's something a little bit different. But I mean, do you not think though that television streaming now, the quality is so high? Like I'm
it's
nearly
amazing.
referencing TV shows more
Yeah.
than films these days as well. Cut that bit out as well. But no, I mean I love documentary film. I would say that as well. And we've always been lucky in the festival that we've had a very high standard of programming, particularly in the area of feature documentary in the past. So I love things like Senna, the documentary about Ayrton Senna.
Yeah.
A really good documentary can just be, I just absolutely love it. One of the best things I ever saw in the film festival recently was Lost Lives, the documentary that Double Band did on it was the testimony of people that were killed in the Troubles, but it was how it was filmed and the use of sound to tell the stories and
Mm.
emote the different feelings and the different experiences around all those many, many, many tragic stories was absolutely superb. And
Mhm.
so it's things like that when you can use the medium really, really creatively to challenge you, to make you feel things that you're not expecting to feel, and to bring you to a different headspace and place like that. That's the art of it for me. But documentary, I love absolutely. And some really crazy cool shorts, which we get to see every year as well. We're so lucky. We're
Aye.
lucky. Don't have time for everything though. But
That there's not enough hours. That's the problem.
not
There's
sure we know it too well, Kevin. Not enough
too
hours in
much
the
to
day.
watch and not enough time. So what about yourself then? How the role you're on? How do you stay creative and innovative and keep things moving forward?
Good question. And that has suffered sometimes. I think we talked about it before, where much and all as I love my job, and my job is, organizing training, events, education, bringing people in to appreciate film and celebrate film and all of that. Love it. And I'm very lucky to do it as well. For myself, like I have done production management on different short films before and produced some shorts, less and less as time goes on, because I think sometimes, much and all as we love to do it, the actual amount of time and effort and energy it takes to make a short film and make it the way it should be made, to do justice to the story and to the team and all, that's a lot of time and resource as well, which we don't all always have. I am actually doing a little bit of further learning at the moment in terms of my own production work, and working on a couple of different ideas that I'm developing at the moment. And it's a fight to find the time to do it, but it's important to do it because um, you absolutely have to feed your own kind of creative engine to be able to, I suppose, teach and be able to kind of celebrate and encourage and inspire people to get involved and do it. And the sector and the knowledge in the sector is changing rapidly. And I feel sometimes I'm like, oh my God, I, your filmmaking looks and sounds awesome as well. But these technological developments are happening so rapidly as well, that sometimes it can kind of make you feel a little bit intimidated, or a little bit, like, God, I've so much to learn, or do I really know anything? But it all will come back to story and your experience of that as well. So I'm trying to spend a bit more time doing that now. I'm lucky that I work with a lot of very creative people. I have a lovely husband who is a writer and a stand up comedian and a performer, and he always has really interesting, crazy ideas, but he always keeps me on my toes in that way. I think Derry has a wealth of talent, so I'm lucky to work with filmmakers and know a lot of really good actors and musicians and artists that are doing great work. I read a lot. I listen to a lot of music. I try to watch as much TV and film as I can. Um, and as long as I stay curious, because I know I have a particular brand of energy that I can get people involved and get people inspired in the work that we do. But I think you have to stay curious yourself. And what does that mean to you? And what could you do as a creative individual with the ideas or the themes or some of the things that you come across in other people's work? So I'm trying to actually challenge myself to do that more and more as time goes on. So hopefully I might actually do a bit of work in it and produce something now. So that would be the
Why
plan.
not? Why
What
not?
about you? What do you do to stay creative?
Um, well, I just try and look for different projects through
Mm,
work. Like so, how can something be done differently? It's
yeah,
just a very basic
yeah,
thing that I would ask myself. So it was a simple thing in work. We had an upgrade their TV studio.
yeah.
And one of the things was how can we showcase this? So it was a 360 tour with all the information broken down and
Oh, amazing.
able to get students involved in that. And so they fed on it. They have a bit of ownership of it. It actually linked in assignment brief, so it was a nice creative way.
Yeah,
So things like that where you're having to look at new technology or
completely. Yeah.
um but for myself outside of work, I suppose this podcast is a big part
Hmm.
of that. It's doing something that I've always wanted to do, always been
Hmm.
interested in. And the points that you're talking about realizing that you have to keep learning when you
Yeah,
technology.
yeah,
I would say in 3 episodes that I've filmed so far and more to come, I've learned more doing this
yeah,
than most other tasks
yeah.
because when you're doing something repetitively, sorry, you get comfortable and
Hmm.
get to the point we know it inside out and the
Yeah.
challenge is lost.
Mhm.
So it is always picking up a new challenge or trying something new, and it could be just, um, from like a lot of my background is in marketing. I
Yeah.
never thought I would be teaching or that would be like my career.
Yeah.
Started off wanting to work in films, moved into marketing, moved into
Mhm.
teaching from that. Just because the marketing side led to business mentoring and
Mhm.
one-to-one mentoring and getting the buzz off how
Yeah.
when you help somebody, that feeling of
Yeah.
um, satisfaction. I think job satisfaction's a massive driver for me.
Yeah.
That when you feel you've done something good, when you feel you've
Mhm.
helped somebody that needed it, should it be technically, should it be that they're having a bad day? It,
Yeah.
it, it comes in all different ways.
Oh, it absolutely
Um,
does. Yeah.
so I just doing something creative that's linked to my work, doing something creative outside of work.
Mhm.
It's just yeah, it keeps you motivated, which
Yeah.
is really important.
I'm doing something now recently, and there's people in my room that are from different backgrounds. So there's someone working in publishing, somebody else is working in television and commercials, and somebody else is, an art house filmmaker and all. And see the different perspectives and the different experiences that people bring to the room. It's really, really interesting, and it's really interesting when you're discussing an idea of a film or something like that. The different questions or the different things that people pick up on as well in relation to their experience and their strengths. So I think it just goes to show that every skill, those skills that you have in marketing were so transferable into the work you do now in creative media and teaching. And there's never a waste of skills at all. Do you know
Mhm.
what I mean? I think it's brilliant when you can bring in those different perspectives. I'm glad I took the long way around, really, in a way, to kind of do this work because the experiences and different things I was able to do, I've been able to adapt and bring forward, and hopefully share with other people as well. So
Yeah, it's what makes you good at your job now is the all
absolutely.
the other steps.
Yeah.
I often it's so simple, but I often think about working as a dishwasher in my first job
Yeah.
and how difficult that was. And you might have done a 7, 8 hour shift with a 5 minute break. And that
Hmm.
5 minute break was to drink a pint of dilute,
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
back in there, to make sure you didn't collapse. But
Absolutely.
it taught me so much about where I didn't want to be.
Yeah.
It taught me so much about the importance of education, that it's
Hmm.
sticking at something, at working at something that you want to
Yeah.
do. So it is the journey that kind
It's
of
the
is really
journey.
important, I
Yeah,
think.
it's the journey and the people, I think, and those that support you and mentor you and those that you meet along the way as well can be really valuable.
You have to work with good people. That
Absolutely.
it makes
Mm.
life so much better.
Yeah.
Your work life so much better. And just it's funny that you're saying about having different perspectives. Like
Yeah.
when you're sharing an office with someone or you're working with someone that sees things differently, you can learn so much from that too.
Absolutely.
And I find myself being very reflective on my own personal things and what I'm doing,
Okay.
and kind of questioning things based
Hmm.
on somebody else's opinion that you trust and know
Yeah.
and stuff. So it's interesting.
Yeah. It's never
Um,
dull anyway.
it's never dull. So in terms of skills, then we talked about what's the one thing you know now or that you've mastered now that you wish I wish I had have known that 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
Do you know, I think that, the older that I get, the more confidence in my own skin and the more I trust my own decisions these days. So I'm less of a people pleaser, which is great. If you're a producer, though, or if you're a production manager, see if you're a people pleaser, like it's great because you can't do enough for people. But for me, I'm interested in the more creative side of film production at the moment, myself personally. So for me, it's about letting go of some of that kind of stuff, trying to please other people, trying to be all things to all people, because you're not going to be, and making sure that you feed your own creativity and your own side of it as well. I wish I knew that, you know, like imposter syndrome is only something that's in your own head and it's not
Hmm.
really real. And it's better to park that, I think, if you can. And as you say, just go out and do it and go out and make it rather than worry that you don't have enough skills or, that kind of comparison to other people or a sense, well, you know, and I don't know, like, I mean, life has thrown me some curveballs in terms of my caring role and different things like that. And I never wanted to feel, and I never wanted to feel that I missed out on things or that I compromised things that I wanted to do. I've been very lucky that I've been able to do the work that I want to do, even as a carer and where I'm living. So I'm really grateful for that. Um, but I think it also created a little bit of an insecurity in me that, oh, I might have missed out, or I maybe missed out in, moving away or trying different things as well. So I think as time goes on, what I would say to myself is you can get as rich an experience as you want to make it. You can get as much out of a process or as little out of a process as you want. And I say that to the students all the time. They always look a bit confused. And then they like, after they finish the BFI, they're like, oh my God, I totally get it now. And I'm
Yeah.
like, hello. But yeah, so in that way, I hope and I've tried to take every opportunity I can and make the best of it. And I think that's a good philosophy to have. I think I would be less concerned about how I look and do I know enough before I try something creatively. Whereas now I'm just like, do you know what? I'm really interested in doing it.
Mhm.
So I think I'll just do it. And just to stay in the moment with it a bit more and not worry about what it means or, who it's for or just about my own creative work and my own creative practice. I think that's a
Yeah.
good thing. So, mind your own business and get on with it yourself is probably someone more succinctly would say.
Yeah.
But
You just have to get stuck on, don't you? It's like
absolutely, dig in.
it was one of the things again back to the talk with Sean Mullen,
Yeah,
and he says it's the discipline of doing, and
absolutely.
I love that statement that you
Mm,
just if you don't need to think about it,
yeah,
and then I was reading a book about habits, and what it says is like if you're not something, so if you're not, you're like, so I'm not a podcaster. That's in
hmm.
my head. That's that imposter syndrome
Well,
that
you are
you're,
now, like
I,
when
but
you're doing it,
but
you know?
that's the imposter syndrome that you're talking
Yeah,
about. But then if you do that consistently over, like, let's say you even do an episode a month or an episode every 2 weeks,
absolutely.
over the course of a year, you have a body of work and evidence that
Hmm.
you can't really argue against yourself anymore.
Yeah,
You're going, well,
yeah,
I've done 24 episodes,
yeah,
so maybe I'm a podcaster. And
absolutely.
it's trying to tell people that is like you're sitting and you're in your own head and you're thinking about
Yeah,
what you should do and oh, people won't like it. And
hmm,
if you just go on and
yeah,
get on with it and give it your
hmm,
best shot and I think be humble about it and not,
absolutely.
be clear.
Yeah,
This isn't what I do. I'm
yeah,
not someone that's great at interviews. I'm not someone that,
yeah,
you know, but I'm doing it to learn and I'm doing it
absolutely.
because I want to do it and because it's
Yeah,
a creative outlet. Then
completely.
that's a good enough reason to
It's as good
do
a reason as any.
to
Why
do
not?
anything.
You
Yeah.
just start and you just do it. Just do it.
Yeah.
I think
So
some big sports brand said that once. Just do
I
it.
just do it. I wonder.
Sponsorship.
Uh, if we
Oh,
get down to sponsor, we'll be doing well.
absolutely, it would be great.
So you've talked about just doing things then. So what's next for you? What's if you think about, and I imagine this could go anywhere because of
Oh
how
Lord,
things
it
have
could.
moved in the past.
Yeah.
But 5 years time,
Oh
10 years
gosh,
time,
that's
what's
such a
the?
loaded question,
It
Kevin. I
is
do not
loaded.
know.
This could be another 10 minute spiel.
Yeah, it could be. I think it'll be really short because for all that I've chatted away about this kind of stuff as well, I tend not to think too far ahead. Years ago, I was great for having the 5-year plan.
Mhm.
And I remember a friend of mine used to say, you have a 5-year plan? I'm like, yes, I do. It's a great thing to have and all of that. And life throws you curveballs and things
Yeah.
work out differently. And sometimes it's an absolute blessing that they do. And it has been the case in my case with most things. It's worked out for the best in the long run. In 5 years' time, I'd like to think that I'd have a couple more short films produced, maybe a feature produced. I'd like to keep going with the creative work that I'm doing. I'm excited for the opportunities that are opening up in the screen industries. I'm excited to see what can come out of here when there is such a hotbed of talent as well. Um, I'll hopefully be in Donegal. Hopefully, we'll be like you, Kevin, where I kind of live in the country, but I'm really near the city. But the sea is behind me because that's my wee dream is to have my house by the sea in Donegal as well. And I'll tell you, if my friends and my family are happy and healthy, and I'm able to do the work that I want to do, then I, honest to God, could say I'm absolutely happy. I'm lucky enough that I've had the opportunity to try loads of different things in my life. So most things I've been able to do and try. But yeah, tell more stories, meet more exciting, interesting people, um, and keep hopefully living in and contributing to the Northwest around here because
Mhm.
it's an awesome place to be with a lot of good stuff happening.
Definitely. So with the Nerve Centre, the Foil Film Festival, BFI, is there anything coming up there? Something.
Oh
What's
yeah.
exciting in that kind of landscape now?
Oh, I suppose our next big project will be we'll have a script development program taking place in July in the Nerve Centre where we work with 20 young people to devise short film scripts, pitch them, and we fund the winning pitches. So we always have a really good range of industry guests for that. So that will be coming up. There's a great cinema program going on in the Nerve Centre at the moment on Wednesday and Thursday nights, and that summer program will continue. And then we'll be getting into working towards the film festival in November this year, as it's on every year. We'll have our Screen Academies program running. So it's just a merry-go-round of opportunity the whole time. But any of that information, or if people want to find out a little bit more, if you visit nervecentre.org/film, like you'll see all the film programs there. You'll see foil, competition, BFI, all that jazz there, and maybe some jazz. I don't know. There might be, but yeah, people can check it out on the Nerve Centre. So um, always busy, but we always look forward to it as well. So
That feels like a really nice ending to the
does, yeah.
podcast. So, just want to say thanks very much for coming on. It was a pleasure to speak with you about the topics we discussed today. So,
Thank you. I think it's a brilliant thing that you're doing, and love hearing people's stories. And there's so many good ones around here. So
yeah.
keep it up, you podcaster, you.
So, right, so we're just going to finish off and say thanks to everybody for watching. You can follow, subscribe, share the video, um, do all that good stuff to kind of help the channel. And that's it. So, thanks again for watching.